Hey guys, my name is Taylor, and I want to welcome you to my YouTube channel where I provide mental health education videos, and I also assist social workers who are preparing for their licensing exam. In today's video, I'm going to be providing you guys with 4 tips on how you can be successful on your exam. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get right into it. Tip number 1 is to use no more than 2 study programs, and I'm going to tell you guys why. The first reason is for organization. It's a lot easier to have all of the information that you need to know in one resource as opposed to trying to pull information from many different resources. So I would recommend using a study program, especially if you don't know what you need to study. A study program will most likely have all the information that you need to learn, and it'll just be easier to help you study. Now, some of you guys might be wondering, Taylor, well, what information do I need to know for this exam? And I'm going to cover some areas in another video, but in this video, I'm just going to stick to the 4 tips. Another reason why I would recommend to use no more than 2 study programs is to prevent information overload. Studying from too many sources can easily cause you to feel overwhelmed, and it can easily lead to information overload. It just becomes too much information, whereas you don't really need to know every single thing in order to pass the exam. So if you try to study from multiple different sources, it's just going to get overwhelming. It's going to get it's just going to stress you out in the long run. So I would just recommend keeping it down to a minimum of 2. And another reason why I would recommend using no more than 2 study programs is because when you have 2 programs, you can compare each program to see what information is present in one resource that may not be present in another resource. So in other words, you can compare the information in both resources to see what may be missing, to see, what source explains the information in a different way that you'll be able to understand. Now, one program should be sufficient, but if you are going to use 2 study programs, then I would recommend having a primary resource, such as a course, and then a secondary resource, such as a textbook. Using a secondary resource can help to explain difficult concepts that you may be having a hard time understanding. So for example, if you use one resource and you're just having a difficult time grasping the information, then you can go to the secondary resource that you're using, and it may be able to help explain those concepts and that information and present it to you in a different way so that you can understand it. Lastly, the secondary resource can fill in information gaps that may not be present in the first resource. So summing all of that together, that is why I would recommend to use no more than 2 programs when you are studying for your exam. However, like I said, using one program should be sufficient enough. Tip number 2 is to take the ASWB practice exam. So many people try to avoid taking the ASWB practice exam. However, it is definitely well worth the investment. By now, you've already paid for your schooling, you've paid for supervision, you've probably paid for a study program, and now you're wondering why you have to pay more money to take a practice exam. I know that it is costly, everything that we have to do to acquire this license. However, it is well worth the investment, and I'm going to tell you guys why. The ASWB mimics the real exam in 3 different ways. The first way is in question structure. Now, depending on the exam that you're going to take, the mock exam closely resembles the actual exam that you're going to be taking. So what I mean by that is, let's say you're preparing to take your LCSW exam. The question structure that you will see on the real exam is going to be the same question structure that you will see on the mock exam. In comparison to other practice exams, I know that there are a lot of practice exams out there. However, not all of the practice exams closely resemble the same question structure that you'll see on the real exam. So there are three main types of questions that you'll commonly see on the exam, which are recall questions, application questions, and reasoning questions. And I will cover that in another video. So each exam contains a mixture of these questions, whereas the bachelor's exam has more recall and application questions. The clinical and advanced generalist exam has more application and reasoning questions. With application and reasoning questions, you're most likely to see scenario based questions that include words such as most, first, best, and next. So, when you're taking a practice exam, you want to take a practice exam that closely resembles the question structure that you are going to take for your real exam. And not, like I said, not every practice exam will use the same structure as most, best, next, and first. There are some practice exams that use different formats, and you want to use a test that models the one that you are going to take. Another way the ASWB mock exam resembles the real exam is in timing. And what I mean by that is that you will be able to gauge how long you will take on the real exam through the mock exam. Why? And that goes back to the question structure. Because if you're not taking a exam that uses similar question structures that will be on your exam, then you can't properly gauge how long it's going to take you on the real exam. So it mimics the real exam in that way. And the last way that the ASWB practice exam mimics the real exam is in functionality. What do I mean by functionality? I mean that as a computerized test, you will see similar features that you can use on the real exam that you have seen on the mock exam. For example, features such as being able to highlight, features such as being able to flag a question, and even features such as being able to strike out a multiple choice answer. So it's just more comfortable being able to put yourself in the experience of taking the real exam. The fourth tip that I would recommend to be successful on your ASWB practice exam is to take practice questions and to take a lot of practice questions. The reason why I would suggest taking a lot of practice questions is because you need to know how to approach the questions and you need to know how to approach the scenarios that are being asked. And what better way to learn how to do that is by taking practice questions. You cannot just rely on learning the information, memorizing the information. You have to know how to apply the information in a given scenario or in a given question. So, taking multiple practice questions is highly recommended. When taking practice questions, even if there is information that maybe you did not study, you can still increase your chances of passing this exam if you know how to approach the questions, if you know how to approach the scenarios. So take practice questions during your study times and just make it a regular habit. Tip number 4, application and reasoning over memorization. Like I mentioned, there may be some questions that will be recalled depending on the exam that you are taking. However, this exam is not about memorization. So don't go into the exam trying to retain the information and memorize it. You have to know how to apply that information that you're learning in an actual scenario and in an actual question that is being asked. So don't just seek to learn the information by memorizing it. Test your knowledge and seek to know if you actually learn the information by seeing if you can apply it to a question. Try to take practice questions on certain topics so that way you can see if you've actually learned the information. So there you guys have it. Those are the 4 tips that I would recommend to pass your licensing exam. And if you found these tips helpful, then I want to invite you to attend my virtual class on July 25th, where I will be providing you guys with more tips on how to be successful for your exam. In this class, I'll be sharing some more tips for success. It will be completely virtual. The link to register for the class will be on the screen, and it will also be provided to you guys down below in the description box. In addition to providing this virtual course, I'll also be offering one-on-one coaching sessions to help you guys be successful on your exam, which can also be booked on the website provided to you in the description box. So if you guys found this video valuable, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and I will see you guys very soon. Until next time.